Hey you guys, it's Monica and welcome back. So today we are making a Temu fabric tumbler. You're like, girl, how many Temu videos are you gonna make? Girl, as many as I can with the supplies that I got, okay? I'm out of the obligation period, but y'all know I talk smack anyway, so I don't particularly care. So let's get a couple things out of the way before we get into the meat and potatoes. I've received quite a few messages recently saying that I talk fast. And when I was in senior AP English back in high school, my teacher told me that I also talk fast. And I told Dr. Ajay, I said, actually, you just listen slow. So catch up, sister. So with that being said, if the speed and the cadence in which I enunciate my words bothers you, baby, I'm gonna need you to click out. Now let's get to the tutorial. So again, I am making a fabric tumbler. I got this fabric from Temu. Okay, so I thought it was gonna be 100% cotton. Now that I finished the cup, I'm pretty sure this guy is some kind of polyester mix. I can't find the listing for it at the moment. But yeah, I went and looked at other fabric listings that were similar to this, and I don't know if this is 100% cotton. I definitely recommend using 100% cotton fabric though when you're making tumblers, because sometimes when you get like the polyester mixes, it can be a little weird. And I think in this case, it caused a little bit of cloudiness on my cup, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So essentially here I am attempting the ghetto measure, and it's just, I don't know why I just couldn't cut a rectangle for the cup, but I cut it the best I could with what I was working with. I did my best. And so what you will also see is that somehow I cut it short. I don't know why I just didn't leave it at this length and wrap it around the cup. Don't be like me and try to get it perfect and end up making it too short. So I'll get to that in a minute too. Okay. So what I'm doing is just cutting it the best I can. And so I really like these fabrics. Really cool. Let's talk about the fabrics. I really like these fabrics. I usually see these fabrics a lot on like people's like Instagram and stuff when they do make fabric tumblers and like ones with a zipper and stuff. And if you're interested in that, I do have a tutorial on like a fabric tumbler with a zipper. But they're always so expensive. Like I'll go on Etsy and I'll see the fabric and they'll want like for like a quarter yard, they'll want like $20. Whereas this was for a yard was $5. And so I was like, I'll take it. And so I like to do my fabric tumblers with a little bit of Mod Podge. And so I'll start by just laying down that first line. And so you don't want your Mod Podge so thin when you're doing fabric tumblers that like it acts like it barely wants to stick. You want to put a little bit on there. Like don't be stingy, okay? Mod Podge is not that expensive. That's the one thing that hasn't really gone up in this economy, okay? Oh my goodness, I don't even know why I said that, because sometimes I'll say something like that and y'all will go and start making political statements in my comments, and frankly, this close to an election, I am not in the mood. So please keep anything politically related to what I just said out of my comments, please and thank you. I appreciate it. God bless you all. Anyways, so don't be stingy with your Mod Podge. Put a little bit on there, take your time and move slow. When I'm doing this, I like to hold the tumbler in my hand. That just helps me. It helps because I can't have it rolling around on my desk and going all over the place. I don't need that. But like y'all see, I'm getting a good amount on there, and I'm putting a good amount on there because you want the Mod Podge to push through the fabric. Because what I've learned over the years of doing fabric tumblers is that when you don't put enough glue on there and it goes ahead, that first layer dries, you could get like little like dry wet pockets essentially. And what happens is if you don't go ahead and just let the glue soak through the whole cup, then it creates like I said, like pockets that'll look dry in some places and pockets that'll look wet in some places. So just go ahead and essentially wet all the fabric with the glue, and that way you don't have to worry about that being a thing. And it also just helps it seal on the cup a little better when you do this. And yeah, you can see when I was doing this, I was like, granted, it's soaking through, but it feels like it's sitting a little bit. So I was a little concerned. And so that's why I'm like, let me come back. Because like, y'all see how it's like, I don't know. It's like the glue is sitting on the underside and it's also sitting on top of it. And so that's why I was like, I don't think this is when it dawned on me. Like, I don't think this is cotton. I think this is some kind of material blend. Because cotton, you know, cotton balls, Q-tips, stuff like that, it'll soak in that liquid, right? But this wasn't soaking it in like I expected it to. It was kind of sitting on it. And that's when I was pretty sure that it's cotton / polyester mix, which is still fine. We can still make it shake. You know what I mean? We in it at this point. I ain't giving up. So I just decided at this point, I'm like, okay, it's giving me, what it was happening was giving me like a little extra slide. And so I just decided to go in with more glue because, again, we're going to work with what we got. We ain't going to trip about it. We're just going to keep it moving. So I'm just like extra sealing it in, sealing it on. And take your time with this. No need to rush, because the good thing is that even if you were to mess this up, you could get the fabric off pretty easily. Now, you couldn't use it again, like, unless you want to go soak it in water, but don't be that cheap. It's not that deep. So, yeah. Extra layer of glue just immediately. There was, like, no time between when y'all see me just putting it on the first time and when I came back and did this. And so just make sure it's on there nice and smooth, too. You don't want it to be, like, chunky or anything. And I'm just using my finger. Normally, I don't advocate for y'all touching y'all cups like this, but in this case, I'll allow it. And you're like, girl, how are you going to allow it for your own case? Because I can. And so when you get done manipulating all that glue, just let it sit. And so based on the way how I did it, you don't have to go back and do another layer to seal it in. Because back in the day, I would do, like, put it on there and then I would come back with another layer of Mod Podge. But when you put enough glue on there that it soaks through that first time, you don't have to worry about that. And so this is just a little cup rim cutting tool. And I'm going around. I moved my blade up one because remember I cut my fabric too short. And so in order to make sure that it wasn't crooked, I moved my blade up to put essentially just be more glitter exposed on the top and the bottom, which was cool by me, you know what I mean? So I wasn't tripping about that. And I'm just using my tweezers to cut it. My blade's a little dull and I can't find the replacement blades are in one of these drawers. I didn't feel like looking for it. I'll just press harder on the cup. But yeah, I haven't changed this blade since I've had this, and I probably had this for 2 years. So it is due for me to change the blade. I'll get around to it eventually. But yeah, you can see there's quite a little bit exposed, but I ain't tripping. So I was trying to figure out which glitter I wanted to use. I decided to go with the ET glitter. It's like a neon iridescent greenish color. And then I'm just mixing acrylic paint with Mod Podge, more Mod Podge than acrylic paint, because remember, the more acrylic paint, the faster it will dry. So when you're doing little sections like this, it wouldn't make that big of a difference, but if you were using this philosophy on an entire tumbler, then you would probably screw yourself, and we don't want that to happen. And remember, when you're taping up your rims like this, make sure you're pushing down, especially on the edge that's closest to where it's exposed and where you're going to be glittering at, because when it seeps through, it just makes it a little harder to clean. Of course, it's acrylic paint and Mod Podge. You can just clean it with water and a paper towel or a Q-tip, but it's always easiest if you go ahead and see I'm just pressing down that edge to make sure it's sealed, and less work for me on the back end. And so I'm just using a brush. Y'all know one thing I like to do is use makeup brushes because you can get them relatively cheaply, and this is just an eyeshadow brush that I'm using. So I figured this worked as a great application. Remember, funky folks, that once it comes in your craft room, it lives there. You cannot bring a fork into your craft room and take it back to your kitchen. That is not what we're doing. You cannot bring a makeup brush into your craft room and take it back to your face. That is not what we were doing. So remember, once you bring it in your craft room, it lives there. This eyeshadow brush still lives in my craft room. It's not going nowhere. So I can't tell you how to run your household. I'm just making suggestions, but just know that if I see you doing it and you're like, how can you see me? Just know that I am judging you. Okay? Okay. And so just put it on there and glitter it. That's y'all are glitter pros by now. Y'all know how to do that part. And so I'm doing the same thing on the bottom. I'm using a bigger brush. This is just a blush brush from the Dollar Tree. What brushes is y'all using, as a matter of fact? Because my brushes are starting to get a little ran over. I done had this set for almost a year, and it's time for me to get new ones for the new year. So leave a comment and let me know what brushes y'all are using that y'all like. Nothing expensive in the comments, babes. We're on a budget. And then we're using them to paint and whatnot. So yeah. And then just go ahead and pull that off, and you can see nice clean edge because we pressed it down. And so at this point off camera, I did seal the top and the bottom glitter. Again, I didn't seal the whole cup, didn't feel it necessary. And so we're using, this is going to be my first time using this epoxy, which is also from Temu. And so I'm just pulling out and showing you guys. It came with part A, part B, some sticks, some pipettes. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with the pipettes. I guess if I was doing like mold work. This is a 24-hour epoxy, and so make sure that you are reading the direction and the descriptions of whatever epoxy you choose to use. Remember, every epoxy is different. Your cure times are going to be different. Your working life is going to be different. So just make sure you know what you're doing. Now, I do have a complaint. And it's about them damn cups. Baby, them little plastic cups had like a little things in the bottom, and I couldn't scrape out all the stuff. I was getting so mad, so I'm continue to use my own products. So yeah, mix it up and then put it on here. It's not time. We always do our 101, I'm sorry, in the summer. So if you need to epoxy 101, you can find that video. I have like 3 of them, I think, at this point. And the comments are always posted sometime in the summer, like July-ish. So if you need more help and more 101 on epoxying, go check out those videos. It's much more slowed down in real time. This one is sped up. And I was a little worried about this epoxy just because it was pretty thin, especially for a 24-hour epoxy. I thought it was thin. Like, it was thinner than a 4-hour epoxy. And so I was a little surprised by that, and I was a little worried about that. But honestly, it works pretty good. I've used it now in a few cups, and I think it works pretty good. Keeping with our Temu theme, this is just the little heat gun that I got from Temu. Admittedly, I do not like it for epoxy applications. I don't think it puts out enough heat. I'd rather use my bigger heat gun than this. I don't feel like it was doing much of anything. But yeah, make sure you see how long it's taking me. Normally I hit that thing 1-2 revolutions, I'm out of there. This was taking me way too long because, again, I just feel like it didn't. You see, I'm checking the heat. I just wasn't putting out enough heat for my liking. It wasn't really doing much. So don't recommend it for this application. All right, so you can see, let's take a look at this. Baby, this looks a mess. You see all them bubbles and whatnot. People will be like, oh, it's the epoxy. Actually, it's not the epoxy. It's the fabric. And so remember how I was like, everything was sitting on the fabric, like the Mod Podge was sitting on the fabric. And so I just felt like that affected the epoxy application. I just felt like it made some kind of weird, and maybe this might have not happened if I would have sealed it, but normally I don't have to seal my fabric tumblers when it's 100% cotton and it acts like normal. But this one wasn't acting normal, and so we just go and get in there and do some sanding work. Baby, my grippage is, I'm getting older and older. I need to find me like I'm gonna find me a buffer. I'll probably end up tearing up the cup. But yeah, just taking my time. I end up sanding the whole cup just to get it smooth. And also, when I put on the second layer of epoxy, it definitely confirmed that it wasn't the epoxy, it was the fabric, because this layer went on just fine when it went on top of that other layer, so there was no issues with that. But yeah, you will see that it looks in the final video that it looks a little cloudy, and that is because, like I said, it was a weird interaction between the fabric, the Mod Podge, and that first layer of epoxy that caused it to be a little cloudy. But I ain't tripping. Lesson learned when working with non 100% cotton fabrics, and I know how to handle it now. AKA probably just seal it in. I'm interested to see would it have gotten milky though when I went to seal it in. Anyway, let's just stick with 100% cotton. Off to Joann Fabrics I go. And this is what it looks like. So you can see kind of that milkiness. But yeah, other than that, I'm happy with it. I think it turned out great. Leave comments and questions and concerns, baby, because we need it. Down in the comments below. All social media, TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, at PeriodSixDesigns. Check out our website, period6glitter.com. And I will see you guys in the next one.